Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the next session. And it's going to be the Holy Relationship panel with Eric, Susan, Linda, Greg, and Peter. And yeah, we're just going to dive into what a holy relationship is and how to practically apply it as a means for healing. So I'll pass it on to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andy. And hi, Greg, over there in Utah.
Welcome back.
Joining again.
Yeah.
You were here for our co-living panel. Now we're in the Holy Relationship panel. And I'm here with Susan and Peter and Linda. And some of you might have been here last month. At the end of December, we did one of these panels where we talked about our relationships. And if you weren't there, I can just give you a little bit of specifics up front. Peter and Linda are married, and you guys have been married for how many years now?
2 years.
2 years, 3 years?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. And Susan and I, we've been in a relationship now for 5 months, is it? About 5 months. And yeah, we've all just been, it feels like we've been brought together by the Holy Spirit to heal our mind. That is the sole purpose of these relationships. And Greg is going to be sharing a bit as well. He is currently not in a relationship in the worldly sense of what we would call a romantic relationship, but has had a lot of experiences. I think you were married for how many years, was it, Greg?
It's 3 years of marriage and over 6 years together with Jenny. So yeah, it was close to most of my time in community was within the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a quick logistic, if you happen to be watching on YouTube right now or Facebook, we're going to be sharing for a while, and then we're going to actually show some movie clips. And we're going to have to cut the live stream on YouTube and Facebook just before we show the movie clips, since they're copyrighted, and YouTube will cut us from the air if we try to show copyrighted material. So if you're watching on YouTube, I would recommend that you come into our Zoom room here where we're doing this, so that you can interact with us and so that you can watch the whole session. And I believe in the link for Facebook or in the description of YouTube, you'll see a link where you can register for this event, and then it'll just send you the Zoom link so you can stay with us. But I thought I would just start off. I opened up A Course in Miracles a little while ago, just as we sat down, and the section I opened up to was the section on true empathy. And my eyes just went to this one line that I think encapsulates what we want to share with you, where Jesus says that your part is only to remember this, that you do not want anything you value to come of a relationship. Now, what does he mean by that? He really means that if you still holding on to any specific values of things that you want to get from a relationship, it will actually hurt you. It will just reinforce the belief that you actually have, that you actually are separate from God and are in a state of lack. And so we come together in this purpose of forgiveness, and it seems like the Spirit brings relationships to us, whether they seem to be intimate relationships, romantic relationships, or what we could call platonic relationships or family relationships. These brothers and sisters are brought into our awareness purely so we can learn how to see them with true empathy, to see that we don't actually need something from them, but that we can give to them in the true sense. We can see them as spirit. We can see them as the Christ. And that is what true giving is. And that, I would say, is the essence of what holy relationship is truly about. It's not really between bodies. It's not like two bodies can really have a holy relationship. We can speak that way symbolically, but ultimately the only holy relationship there is the one between ourself and our Creator, or we could say with the voice for our Creator, the Holy Spirit. So I think during this session, we're just going to dive into some specifics, and we're going to be showing some movie clips that that capture some of the underpinnings of, we could say, what's the opposite of the holy relationship. It's the special relationship, where there can be a lot of underpinnings that are quite dark. I know David's going to go into that tomorrow during our movie session, because the winner of the movie poll was looking at and releasing the dark side of specialness, which I think is just a very juicy theme. That's really what the whole book is about. I mean, a lot of people complain about A Course in Miracles that it talks so much about the darkness and about the ego and how dark the ego is. And, but it's important. Like, the only way to actually transcend the ego is to really get clear on how devious and dark it really is, that it doesn't have any intrinsic value at all. And the more we see that and see all the defense mechanisms that come from our ego, the more easy it is to drop the ego, to just keep seeing it and dropping it and releasing it. And then our mind just feels lighter and lighter. So, yeah, I thought I'd maybe pass it over to you, Greg, if you wanted to share some context, and then we can. I think we're going to open this session up too for some interaction or maybe some written questions. And we'll all just see what each of us has to share from what's been coming up for us in relationship and how we practice the Course here in our community.
Yeah, let's see, Eric. Yeah. Well, yeah, I liked what it's a pretty good context to have that statement that holy relationship is not between persons and not between two people. Because then everything that the human does and constructs in terms of relationship and makes and fabricates and all that is largely specialness, personal, coming very much from a personal perspective. And we'll have some clips, as Eric was sharing too, that will unearth these qualities, these perspectives that really highlight the specialness. So, yeah, I think we wanted to also share. I feel very blessed in the sense that I deeply appreciate the symbol of community. I appreciate the purpose that we hold out front, being in community. And so one of our themes too, or the context is, for our relationships are within the community, which, holds very strongly the sense of purpose. So yeah, for me, it was a safe way to get married, because I trusted that. I did not trust myself back in my own little house, and that didn't work. It was it was very much ended up in a lot of conflict and just a lot of turmoil. So then, I just went the other direction completely until I got to community, which then provided a sense of context for me, to go into a relationship. So yeah, I thought maybe we could explore a little bit of that too, that it's not supporting the personal perspective. It's not like we can't refuse it. I mean, that's what has to be undone. But our purpose is largely framed around, it's a service ministry. We love service. And so if we don't have that service, it's like, it's a deep question then, and then what is it for? So our relationships are largely also framed by that sense of purpose and service that we join together. That's largely where our communications are. So it allows a lot of communication around some things that we value together. And I guess I was just reflecting too in my marriage. I think that would be the one thing I would say was most transformative, was to be able to have a project that both Jenny and our passions were towards that. And I could even, you could see the personal sort of dissolved, because it was such a focus, it was such a passion for us to focus and to spend our time praying into specifics around these projects and things. So I think that's, yeah, I would just kind of put it back and say, how was your guys' experience? Like, having this relationship within community. I think that's kind of important, because in the world, the context was largely all separate pieces. I went to this group for that. I went to the course group for this, and I didn't mix the course group with this group. But for us, it's all together. There's no separating things out. In the expressions, all of the personal issues come out. So even that, you can't even hold your personal space around the marriage or around the relationship. So I thought that would be like one pretty helpful context to share, because it's not really the form, but it's that I value the symbol so much because of the purpose behind it, and there lies all of the thinking that follows that, and the motive, you could say, after that context. So yeah, how is it for you guys been different for you in terms of having a relationship and community, and with a purpose so strongly reinforced every day? If you want to answer.
Not right now.
Or do you want to add anything to that at all? Yeah.
Well, I just remember before coming into community, I was in a relationship, but looking back, it was with this woman in San Francisco, and it was, I was very attracted to her, but we definitely didn't have like a purpose together. That it didn't feel like we were, like, she was not at all into A Course in Miracles, and it felt like it was good, like it was a good relationship in like, just from a personal perspective, like we had fun together, but there wasn't a lot of expansion. There wasn't really, I don't feel there was like a healing for me. And yet I looking back, I was quite addicted to it. We were together for about a year, and then I started to volunteer in this community. And at a certain point, I could feel that there was like a split. Like I would go back and I'd volunteer in the community. Then I'd go back and I'd be in this, I'd join with her, and I'd try to share with her what I was going through, the healing, what we were doing, A Course in Miracles. And, to her, it just felt like weird. And so we really couldn't even talk about it together. And but I still felt like I didn't want to let go of the relationship. It was, I think I just valued the intimacy. I really valued the physical connection. But there was a point, I was at a retreat with David when suddenly I got this email and this phone call from this woman named Armel, who said that she felt we were going to be guided to travel together and to be married. And it was she was someone who was starting to volunteer in David's community as well. She was very much into practicing A Course in Miracles. And I remember it was like a very deep choice. I had to, if I was going to go in that direction and say yes to this, what felt like a kind of like a Holy Spirit arranged marriage. It happened very quickly. It seemed like she was hearing the guidance and then communicated that to me. David was there, and you know, he just kind of marvels at these miracles that sometimes occur where people are brought together in a very rapid way. Sometimes even Susan and I were brought together, and it felt pretty rapid. You guys felt pretty rapid. Like when the Holy Spirit knows that two people are meant to be together for a healing purpose, for when it's truly going to take the mind deeper, as opposed to just reinforcing old patterns, it can happen really, really quickly. And at that point, I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay with the old relationship, and which feels comfortable and, you know, and gives me pleasure and, you know, that, or am I going to go for a deeper purpose? Am I going to accept the invitation that I'm being offered by the Holy Spirit? And I did. And that was my first, we got married, this woman, Armel, and I. This was back in 2009, and traveled together and really dove deep into the teachings of David together, and just had a lot of forgiveness, had a lot of forgiveness opportunities. And it was pretty intense, but also just an amazing gift for my mind at the time. And I know you and Jenny, you guys were brought together pretty quick too, and just went through a lot of intensity being on the road and traveling together in Europe. And I feel like that's what we want to get into is what is the Holy Spirit offering us opportunities to go deeper. It doesn't have to be in intimate relationships. But it generally is in relationships with whomever comes into your life to help kind of break you out of your old paradigms. And I feel really grateful. You know, being brought together with Susan about 5 months ago, we've just had a lot of lessons come up between us, and Pete and Linda, we've the four of us have just been talking like the different forgiveness lessons that come up for us around relationship. They seem very transformative just to share about, and we just keep exposing our private thoughts so that they can be released. And so it is a good context. I mean, it seems helpful, this context of spiritual community where we seem to be. It seems to be a speed up, but I think wherever you are is where you're meant to be for now. But we always want to be open to where the Spirit is guiding us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, like the real shift for me was like when I was in a relationship before the community, there was so much pressure on this relationship must work and this must be something, and like some kind of a picture perfect. Like there's always this standard that I'm trying to get to. And I think the main switch for me was before I came here, I think it was just a reflection of my mind that I actually wanted a different purpose for relationships. And when Pete and I kind of got together pretty quickly after we met, like within 2 weeks. But I feel the main shift is now it's like, what is it for? There's not so much pressure onto Peter and Linda must work together, like this has to work, or it's like a longevity to it, or it's like a future something. It's not like, I feel like everything is being funneled back to like a much greater love, like something that we can actually share with everybody. And I think that for me is the deepest shift that I've been feeling, especially lately. I feel like we're going deeper and deeper together. I feel like the trust is getting greater. And so I feel like I dare to expose more of the ego that is coming up, and more of the dark side of the ego that's coming up. But actually with that, I've been having really deep, beautiful experiences lately that I can hardly describe. And I don't know, like my heart just opening up, and yeah, in ways that I didn't have before this kind of relationship, like my heart opening up to seemingly other people, like having like this massive heart opening and just like not knowing what to do with it. And I think if I wouldn't have been like in this purpose, in this relationship, I would have probably be really confused and feel really guilty. And there was still guilt coming up about it. But yeah, I feel like with this purpose held in mind, my heart can actually open up wider and wider and kind of include everybody. Yeah, it just feels really beautiful. I'm really, really grateful that it's like expansion. I feel like the purpose of these relationships is constant expansion, and not like this, yeah, like this 1+1 kind of a focus. It's just completely different. And yeah, it's been amazing already. So yeah.
Yeah, we had our 2-year anniversary about 3 days ago, and you know, we hardly had it in mind because we're not so focused on like the dates or anything like that, but it just kind of came into awareness. Oh, it's our anniversary today, and so it's like, didn't know. Our days pretty much, we're always just really focused with like projects we have going on, and you know, we have things like these events, and just the Spirit is directing us to give all our energy into this kind of giving. So that's where our mind is most of the time. And you know, and then it's just kind of watching also how Spirit will use the relationship too, because I think we both didn't really have a preference, but that evening, you know, we didn't know if anything was going to happen on this day or whatever, and we both heard sushi, like sushi just kind of dropped into the mind. So we just shared, it's like, oh yeah, I had that thought too. And we never go out for dinner, hardly ever, like just very rarely. But we both heard that. So I was like, okay, let's go out and do that. But it was really interesting, even the evening, because, you know, there's just had been like a lot coming up in the mind recently, like things coming up with projects and like some kind of strain or something like that. And so we're out and you know, going out for this dinner together, you know, which we hardly ever do. But the whole dinner was just turned into Linda just needed to express and express and express so much darkness coming up in the mind. And she had thoughts that she always had like even felt afraid of sharing with me or with any partner, for like some fear of like, this is really going to shake things. This is really going to rock the boat. Just sharing these thoughts or like, well, I don't know. I can't even remember exactly what you shared now, but it was the purpose just felt so different to be at this dinner together. And, you know, she'd say things and some of these things would hit me and I'm like, whoa, okay. And just, they just kind of kept coming, but it felt really healing because after all of that, we're walking home and she's like, I don't know if I should have said that. I kind of rocked you and like, I don't know if that was helpful. And I was like, yes, that was helpful. That was the most helpful thing you could have done. It just kind of felt like, yes, this is what it's for. And I really felt it in the moment of like something like, oh, thank God this is what we can use relationships for, is like freeing the mind instead of trying to like keep this thing together, like trying to keep this thing going or something like that out of some feeling of like the ego knows, be careful with this and you want to hold on to this. But But that feeling of freedom in the mind of like, oh, I feel so open and there's nothing I need to hold back. It was really refreshing.
Yeah, there's always a temptation to not speak up in relationships because fear of rocking the boat or fear that it will destroy the relationship. And that's where we have to just, practice discernment of like, sometimes maybe we won't be guided to say everything to our partner, especially if our partner hasn't given us an invitation to share all of our private thoughts. But for us, it's like a core agreement. Like I wouldn't enter into a relationship anymore unless there was kind of like an underlying assumption or agreement, spoken or unspoken, that everything is welcome, that everything can be shared. And I guess sometimes we have to take a risk too, that it's going to be more important if we're guided to speak our thoughts, even the ones that seem very very nasty or dark. The ego is pretty dark underneath it, but as long as we're holding on and holding secrets from each other and not speaking what's there, then it just kind of festers and it comes out in very strange ways. So yeah, it's deep. It's good too to have like mentors or mighty companions that we can join with about this and say, look, I'm having some pretty, I hate my partner right now and I want to kill them. Can you help me see this differently? Because sometimes we need like a third perspective, someone who can help us go a bit deeper, because it is quite intense. And the special relationship, Jesus says, is the ego's most boasted gift. So there's a lot of like protectionism around it and specialness and like trying to maintain it. It's tied into survival. We're going to be going into this a lot more too. I think David's going to be sharing about this topic next weekend. Just to throw in a little plug for our Holy Relationship Weekend Retreat we're having next weekend. I think it's one of the best, it's one of the deepest topics in the course and in our community to dive into. It's rich, it's very rich, and it's really where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Yeah, well, my heart's racing, so I guess I'll stop. I was just like, I was reflecting on, I had a memory actually come to mind when you were talking about no private thoughts and just like holding that as part of how the purpose, in a way, how it looks, in form. And I remember after my first retreat with David, when it was in Canada, because I was living, I had a whole life there. I had like husband, 12 years at that, I think it was 12 years at that point, children, career, I was in a PhD program, I think 3 years in, I had a whole kind of like whatever going on. I had a lot of pride around it too, by the way. Thought, I actually had something like a 20-year plan, I think, at that point. And it's like, oh my God. But after, so I was at this retreat and I just remember racing home. Like I was driving home and it was like, whatever, it was an hour drive, and so excited because I just remember this thing in my mind around no private thoughts. And, I just thought, I'm going to bring this to Mike, my husband. I'm going to bring it to him. And I'm just going to invite him. Like, I'm just going to share my excitement and my passion. I just playing Quantum Love song. I think I was like, listen to this amazing song and whatever. And he was just kind of like staring at me and just like, like what's up with her kind of thing. But I think for like a minute, like it was something like I was so blown away or something by this idea of no private thoughts and exposing and just opening up, that it's like I couldn't hold back, and I just said, this is what I want, this is what we need to start doing, can we start practicing this? And he's like, we're both people pleasers, by the way. So he was like, yeah, let's do it. I don't think he understood it. Like, I don't think I really understood it either, but we were just kind of like, okay, we're going to go for it. And I don't know, I think it lasted 2 days or something like that. But I just remember, like, there was something about just being so like blown away by something and realizing that, it's like, unless there really is that strong, that determined, that sort of knowing, I suppose, underneath that this is what I want, then it's just that joint purpose can't happen. And that's what it was with me and him. And I think it was kind of shortly after that I started to think in terms of kind of like, maybe it's time to separate, possibly divorce, things kind of unfolded. But either way, I think fast forwarding to now, I mean, the change in terms of what's happening in my mind in this relationship is just a radical departure. Like it's like there's like, whereas before everything was focused on it, like holding on to a picture in my mind of what I imagined made me happy, if that makes sense. I had my plan. I had the husband. I thought he was nice. I thought my life was nice. I was really proud. I thought I had it made in some ways. Like I think deep down, part of me kind of knew that I wasn't really as happy as I could be, but I think I just tolerated. I was like, oh, this is good. This is good. Like I didn't really think about it. Not really. But now with the focus shifting off of that picture of holding on to an ideal, or holding on to a plan, or trying to make something work, to the mind, to what's happening in my mind throughout the day, what emotions are coming up, what thoughts are coming up, what, am I trying to hide anything? Am I trying to hold on to anything? Am I seeking for something? Am I seeking for approval? Am I seeking for companionship? It's like that getting, and I feel like that's been a massive shift for me, because I actually had no idea that there was all of this going on under the surface. Like there was all of this getting, and, kind of like, whatever we talk about, the dark side of specialness, but like, I thought things were pretty good. I thought, the relationship was pretty good and what have you. But once that purpose starts to come in, and you invite the Holy Spirit to show me what's in my mind, then it's basically the shit starts to hit the fan, because then I really get to see it. And that's what the last, 5 months have been with Eric. I've actually seen things that I've been shocked, totally shocked. I mean, seeing parts of myself that I always thought of myself as mature and good and upstanding citizen, like I'm good. I don't know. I'm a good person. I'm honest. All these things in the mass, call it the mass. We call it the mass, but it's these things in the personality that where there's so much pride tied into that. But once the specialness lid starts to come off, it's like, no, it's like there's not, it's not so pretty down there, and having to look at that and again, and of course, like bringing the Holy Spirit in over and over and over, so I'm not looking alone. I'm not like trying to, like, I'm not like just looking for this. I'm actually asking for help. Show me what this is. Show me how to look at this, so I can let this go. So I can release this. Actually, I don't have to kind of like hold on to it. I don't have to like think that it's me, actually. Because I think that's where the healing is when I begin to realize in these experiences, maybe this isn't even me. Maybe this is something that I don't know what this is. I'm not sure what this is, but it, like I was telling the guys last night, there's been these experiences of something foreign in my mind, like this weird foreign alien thing that doesn't look so nice, but it still needs to be looked at. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, so I feel like the purpose has just been such yeah, it's been like this massive kind of unifying way of understanding and being inside of a relationship here that without it, it's like there's really nothing else going on. It's really, it has to keep coming back to what is it for, you know, and as best as I can every minute of the day, because once that, you know, once that darkness starts to come up, you know, it's time to be attentive. It's time to really watch the mind close and really go for it, because otherwise that ego is right there and it's hungry. It wants, you know, it's like it wants to stay alive, right? So that's where, yeah, that's why I feel that joining with Eric is so powerful, because I strongly feel his devotion and his joining with me in that purpose all the time, every day. And I trust that, like I trust that it's okay, it's safe. It's actually safe when, you know, when you're with anybody, when you feel that joined purpose, that it's actually, it's like a container where you can just kind of rest and say, bring it on, actually, because I feel like it's like my time or something. It's time to look at this. I'm ready. It's like, it's time. So I'm kind of scared what I just said, but
people say, don't say bring it on in the Holy Spirit, because it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it for? Great question. Oh, did you have any more thoughts, Greg? Maybe it feels like maybe we're ready to move into our movie clip section, unless you had anything.
Yeah, the clips will just pretty much lay it out very clearly. Yeah, what happens in the personal perspective. Yeah, so I feel like that might be time to announce our goodbyes to the YouTube viewers, or join us in the Zoom room. There's plenty of room.
If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, we're cutting our broadcast in a sec, so please register. You get the Zoom link and come join us, and we'll continue. Yeah.